Hello, and welcome to Horrific Tales. In this segment, we like to showcase the creations of independent authors and aspiring writers. Please like, subscribe, and share these episodes to help get our friends as much exposure as possible. We would also appreciate it if you could help our friends by following them on their independent platforms and by purchasing their works. Details on how to do so will be in the show notes. On today's episode, we're going to be bringing you some of the work of Scott Donnelly, with the prologue from Mothman, Return to Point Pleasant. December 15th, 1967. Stevie Wonder's Someday at Christmas crooned through the speakers of the transistor radio sitting on the kitchen counter. It was surrounded by neatly arranged finger foods, dips, and festive accents that shined with silver glitter. Each room of the two-story home on Walmsley Street was crowded with tipsy housewives gossiping and their husbands talking to one another about sports and cars. There were the occasional whispers, of course, of the Mothman that slipped from between the drunken lips of a few select partygoers. That's where Lauren's attention kept jumping to. His tiny, 7-year-old stature allowed him to slip through the crowd largely unnoticed. He could care less about the Christmas party his parents had put on for their close friends and family. He was more intrigued by the chatter of the mysterious creature that had been spotted countless times in his hometown over the last year. It chased a car here, landed on someone's roof there. Tall, dark wings, like a mythical beast, all complemented by 2 glowing red eyes. It was a fascinating change of pace for a small town where nothing exciting ever really happened, and sounding like something out of the terror-filled comic books Lauren secretly kept under his bed. Of course it would grab and hold a death grip on his attention. Monsters weren't supposed to be real. That's what every parent told their children. Yet, here they all were, the parents, talking about a monster flying around town, scaring people and creating disorder. And to top it off, they actually seemed alarmed by it. Were all parents liars? Lauren thought as he slunk through the loud and congested kitchen. Over the music, as well as the house phone ringing in the background, he heard his trigger word again, Mothman. He lingered by the 2 women who uttered its name. Lauren knew he had met these women before, but couldn't think of their names or how they were related to his parents. There was no doubt that his brother knew who they were. He was more than likely dressed to the nines and sweet-talking the guests. He had a knack for using his boyish charm to swindle everyone into giving him quarters. He still liked to brag about the time he received a full $1 from Miss Hathaway down the street. But Lauren didn't know who Miss Hathaway was. He didn't know any of the people in his home. To him, they were just nobodies who happened to be talking about the creepy subject he wanted to hear about. I think it's just everyone's imaginations, playing ludicrous tricks. Something like that can't exist, one of the women scoffed. New animals are discovered all the time, the second woman replied. Maybe this is just the beginning of a new species. The Mothman isn't an animal, a drunken man said, stumbling between the women. It's a ghost. A demonic spirit with electric eyes that penetrate themselves into your soul. Then it has control of you. Both women laughed at the man, but he didn't seem to break from his statement. He looked irritated that they didn't accept his unwarranted addition to their conversation. It's probably watching us right now, the man added, drifting off into a softer, more daunting tone of speaking. His alcohol-infused slurring was still very much noticeable. It hasn't been seen since November, I think. It's due to show itself. Lauren, a strong female voice erupted behind him. Lauren turned around to see his mother. She was dressed in a festive dress, had her hair up, and wore pearls around her neck. Where's your belt? Lauren looked down, only now realizing he wasn't dressed as presentable as his mother liked him to be around company. He was missing his belt, and his shirt wasn't tucked in all the way. Your father just called, and he said he was leaving work. Get upstairs and get yourself together before he gets home. Lauren looked at the women and the drunk man. All the attention was now focused on the 7-year-old kid at the party. He was embarrassed, and assumed anyway that his eavesdropping had been permanently compromised. Please, Lauren, his mother said. Yes, ma'am. Lauren sulked away and ascended the stairs to the second floor. He closed his bedroom door, muffling the music and rowdiness from the crowd below him. His father wasn't as strict as his mother made him out to be. She's the one who usually assumed her husband wanted things a certain way. Secretly, when she wasn't around, Lauren's father was easygoing and understanding with his two sons. But appeasing either of them would limit the arguments after the guests had left for the evening. He first went to his dresser to fish out the belt in question. Tossing socks and underwear to the floor, he finally found it. He sloppily shoved his freshly ironed shirt into his pants and tried to feed the belt through the loops. That's when the ground began to shake. A roar erupted all around him like the earth was angry. Pictures and knickknacks fell from the wall and dresser, and the lights flickered like a strobe light. Lauren crunched down and braced himself against the wall. The rumbling vibrated the entire house like a train from hell was right outside. "Mommy!" Lauren called out, knowing it was no use. Even if anyone downstairs could hear him over their own drunken rowdiness, surely the thunderous chaos would have his cries fall on deaf ears. Lauren closed his eyes and grit his teeth. As he began to cover his ears from the disconcerting madness, it lessened in ferocity and abruptly stopped. Silence regained control of the elements before being casually broken by the distant sound of emergency sirens. Lauren rushed to his bedroom window and lifted the sash. The cold December air rushed against his face, stung his eyes, and then he saw the flashing lights spinning in the darkness. Police, fire. They were all racing toward the river. Looking over the houses and trees that hemmed Wamsley Street, Lauren could now see why there were so many emergency vehicles. It was the bridge, the Silver Bridge, that his father had to cross to get home from work. Only instead of seeing that awe-inspiring structure that linked West Virginia to Ohio, he could only see half of it still standing. The other half was twisted, bent, and dipping into the icy river below. Lauren even watched as cars continued to pour from the battered bridge and into the water. Above the towers that remained of the bridge, in the dark sky of the early evening, two more lights, obscured and disconnected from the chaos unfolding below them, effortlessly moved through the void. They were abreast and glowing red. They looked like the ominous eyes people in Point Pleasant had been describing for the past year. Well, we hope you enjoyed our latest horrific tale. If you'd like to keep up to date, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Also, follow us on our social media pages. You can also show your support for the channel by going to our merchandise store, picking up some items there. Please also take a moment to support our contributing friends who kindly lend their talents to this show. Check out the links in the description as to how you can do this. Until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.